I think we should spend the first 30 minutes of this episode of me just yelling at you in front of everybody.
Dude, the
Man
whole
said,
episode's gonna be yelling. You don't
man
have to.
said he'll be ready in a minute at 6:30, and it is now 7:40, and we are just starting to record. So just for you guys who are listening to know how much effort we have put into this.
I
I
did
have
not
waited,
say I was ready in a minute. I
I,
just checked the text. Did not say that.
I was waiting an hour and 10 minutes to get this going. But what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players Podcast. It's week 2 recap edition. Lots of really great games. The best team in the league still remains the best team in the league at the top of the Supporter Shield standings. Who is that, Connor?
Austin FC.
Good try. It's the New York Red Bulls. What's up?
It is not the New York Red Bulls.
Listen, in my world where all of my opinions matter and nobody else's do, Red Bulls are still top of the league.
Whatever you say. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
So we've got very similar to week 1 recap. Stock up and stock down. Player of the week, flop of the week, team of the week, worst team of the week. And Connor has a new segment for us. Contenders or pretenders, I believe. I think we'll go through a few teams and see if they're going to be the real deal or maybe not. And maybe we throw that in sometime in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we can rename it. We can think about it. We don't have to necessarily to do teams that are doing well, but we could look at a team that's doing poorly and be like, okay, is this really how their season's going to pan out, or is this just kind of a little bit of a bad spell to start the season?
Welcome back to Factor Cap, where on this podcast,
yes, that's it. I like that. Factor Cap.
Have you seen the TikToks of those?
I'm not sure.
They're pretty
familiar.
They're pretty cringe, but it's like, man, what would happen if you took a nail gun and shot it at somebody? And it's like, welcome back. And it's not cut to somebody else, like, welcome back to Factor Cap.
Oh, okay. I know what that is.
Yeah. So that's where I got that from. But before we do any of that, we got to dive into Scarf of the Week. And I've got a Kid of the Week that is going to be perfecto. So I'll let you start, as you always do.
Okay. Well, this was one of 2 scarves that I have that would fit my my theme, or not my theme, but that would match any of the topics that I'm going to be discussing today. So a little bit of a teaser. Went with Toronto.
I like how you tie your scarves into what you're talking about.
Yes, and if you watched Toronto at all this week, you know this is upside down.
It was right the first time.
You know that it's probably not for a good reason.
Oh, I watched them, and it was for a great reason. I've got a new scarf, one that nobody's seen before, in honor of one of our podcast guests from season 1 that I never got their scarf for, and I thought I did, but I realized when I was doing my scarf count the other day that I didn't. Can you guess who it is?
Is it a full Mingo one?
No, I have a full Mingo one.
Or is it San Jose? Oh, LAFC.
LAFC, Defender of the Bank podcast. Got a little logo on the end. It's a double-sided, same thing on both sides. But I also put in a purchase for a random MLS kit from awaydays.com. And they don't sponsor us, even though they probably should, because we buy so much of their merchandise. If you guys are looking for just a random kit from any league in the world, he has deals for random MLS kits that we're going right now, as well as a random scarf. So I bought this LAFC scarf for $30. I can get 2 random scarves from anywhere in the world from awaydays.com. So Martin, you're an absolute G. We love your website. We love all the work you do. Keep up the good work. But I got a random MLS kit, and it is maybe the most perfect kit for this podcast. Are you ready?
I hope it's FCC.
I'm gonna jump off the screen for a second.
Thank goodness. We've been asking for this for 3 seasons now.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's up, Minnesota
fans?
Welcome to being out of the playoffs. The Loons are back, baby. We're repping the Loons kit from random MLS purchase. Maybe I don't know if it's perfect for this podcast. What's up, Loons fans?
Loons fans deserve to break into your house and burn that jersey. Because you do not deserve to have it.
I love the Loons.
You loved the Loons season 1, then season 2 you turned your back on them.
I didn't turn my back. I was realistic. I gave him the reverse jinx. What do you mean? I did the biggest favor that anybody could ask of me. Perfect. Absolutely perfect for the podcast. I don't rock jerseys often. I'm not a big jersey guy, but I had to break it out today. More of a scarf guy than a jersey guy, but couldn't say no to bringing the loons on the podcast. You know what I mean? Up the loons.
Shall we jump into this thing?
I think we should. I think we've gotten to the point where we're ready to get going. Let's start as we usually do with players who raised their stock this week. I'm going to go first because
who said you're allowed to go first?
It's my podcast. Quiet down. TFC, Toronto FC, players with your scarf, looked really bad. However, there was one lone bright spot in that team by the name of Luca Petrasso. Every time he got the ball, he created a dangerous chance for Toronto FC. Dylan Dielis had a really tough time trying to deal with him. He had 2 key passes with an assist to the Jesus Jimenez goal, 4 successful dribbles, the most of any team, maybe in the league. I didn't check after the last game, but I thought he was up there, at least top 5 for week 2 in dribbles completed. Also drew 3 fouls, and this was all before he got moved to left back in the second half after a Jacob Schaffelberg injury. I mean, he was just torching us. Now, their back line was dreadful, so we were able to get away with it. But when he went back to left back, he made 2 tackles and had an interception as well. I mean, he was just the complete player last week. Everybody keeps saying TFC are a young side, so we can't look into this loss. So are Red Bull. But I think Petrasso is one that's slept on. You hear about a bunch about Marshall Ruddy being the guy, the next guy out, and the big Luca Petrasso is an absolute baller. And I think people need to watch out for him in the future.
That's pretty bold of you to go with a player that suffered a 4-1 loss.
Correct. But if you watched him play, which I did, if he had better support around him and a better defense behind him to stop us just from continually running through, he would have torched us. I mean, he made Dylan Nealis' life a living nightmare for 90 minutes.
Is that just part of because Dylan Nealis is just not that good? Or
No, he would have given a lot of people. So when I had made the Schaffelberg comment last week, people were kind of questioning it a little bit. But as I read the comments that came in throughout, like the Toronto FC postings of their lineups and things like that, everybody was calling for this guy to get on the field. And I was like, okay, I saw him start. Let's keep an eye out for what he's got. And he was phenomenal. And he fits that winger role really. We talk a lot about how MLS doesn't have a ton of really pure good wingers. He can be one of the best. He was phenomenal. I was really a big fan of the way he played.
Yeah, he could be your new Soteldo this season.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, he's no Alex Mouil, but
that's because he starts games.
No, he was very, very good. I really liked the way he played. If TFC can find a way to shore up that midfield and defense, they will. They have a good player in Luca Petrasso.
All right, what you got for your second one?
I'm going to go 2. Okay, I'll go 2.
Yeah, knock him out.
Sega Koulibaly from LA Galaxy. I mentioned this on our live stream a ton, but Koulibaly had a very, very good game against Charlotte. I genuinely couldn't remember him putting a foot wrong all night. If you look at the stats, he doesn't stand out as like, wow, this guy was phenomenal. He had a tackle and 3 clearances, but his positioning off the ball and the timing of when he was able to shield the ball out of play, beat somebody to the ball, recover the ball, and play it out to somebody up the field. Stats don't really pick up on that, at least from WhoScored.com. They don't really pick up on that, but he was a massive, massive part of the success of LA against Charlotte. And really, Charlotte was not as bad as people might think. And we talked about that. There's a lot of good going on in Charlotte, but he made it very difficult for that attacking front 3 to do anything, or front 2 really. So really good night for Mr. Koulibaly. And I think I just really enjoyed the way he played. I think his stock went up a little bit this week. excited to watch what he can do as the season goes on.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'll send it over.
I'm glad we did not overlap on any.
We didn't overlap this time. Great, that's awesome.
Anything else to add?
No, I was going to ask if you had who you had as one of your two.
So first one I had on my list was Sebastian Driussi for Austin FC because
sorry, cutting you off. I was reading my notes and I had stock up, Luka, Koulibaly, and then stock down. So I'm reading my notes for stock down while you said Sebastian Driussi, and I'm like, are you out of your mind thinking we're talking about stock down? I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he the second week in a row now that he's had a very strong week. Let me ask you a quick question here. At the start of the season, did you think that he was an MVP talent player in this league, in the MVP conversation? No, me neither.
No, I didn't rate him.
No, I mean it's only 2 games. I don't want to get ahead of anything here, but if you were to name an MVP after 2 weeks of this season, he would easily be a finalist right now, if not the winner.
I mean, he wouldn't be the winner. Lewis Morgan exists, but yes, he would be in the finalists.
He would still beat Lewis Morgan. I promise you that.
Good one.
If he continues the pace that he's on right now, he will win MVP in this league, no question. I want to say, take it with a grain of salt, though, because Austin has played 2 very bad teams to start the season, in FCC and Inter Miami. So he beat up on them like you're supposed to. But we will see once they start to play some more formidable opponents, can he continue to do that? Or will the output start to come back to earth a bit? I still think after the first 2 weeks, his stock is up. I think he went from being, like a good player in the league to now he's like, granted, again, super early, but he's in the MVP conversation at the moment. Very, very hot start for him. He's really turned around this Austin attack and made them look super dangerous. And the other one, another super obvious one, I went with Lewis Morgan on this one. I know.
How can you raise your stock from the best player in the league?
I know we'll talk about him more later. I'm going to ignore your comment. Lewis Morgan's stock was sky high after his first season in Miami. He was phenomenal.
I don't know if I would say sky high.
He single-handedly carried that team to the playoffs. No question about it.
There were 10 teams out of 13 that made the playoffs.
I know, but they weren't in that conversation. You take Lewis Morgan out of that, they might be FCC bad. He was their only good player that season. And then last year, he got moved out to like right back, something like that, in more of a defensive role. And his stock fell down because not his fault. He was playing out of position because Benny Ball never dies. Again, not his fault, but I would say that his stock probably dipped a bit going into the season just because his numbers weren't as strong finishing off last season. So when he goes out and scores a hat trick in week 2, yeah, his stock's going back up, right back to where you'd probably see Morgan after season 1 with Miami. And I imagine his stock is now going to the moon. I'm sure you wouldn't disagree if it is not at the moon already. I don't know if you want to do this now or if you want to do this later, if you want to go into our whole argument over the Lewis Morgan overpay. Do you want to do that now or do you want to talk about that later?
There is no conversation. It's not an overpay.
I don't disagree with you. It's not an overpay, but I think
we're gonna go ahead and make you publicly apologize. I want to hear you say I was wrong when I said Lewis Morgan was a bit of an overpay at 1.2 mil after he was bought. I want to hear it.
No, I don't think he's an overpay, but at the time when he first got traded, I think it was absolutely valid to feel that way because he was coming off of a down season, granted, again, playing out of position. And at the time, he was the first of the major trades during this window. So I looked it up. I found an article from MLS.com. And his Tam Gam move was one of the top 10 largest of all time. And that was just taking into account the moves that happened prior to the 2022 off season. So you're looking at the start of the off season, before you know that there was going to be a ton of like large interleague moves. They paid a ton of money, borderline most of all time, to get a guy that was coming off of a down year. So yeah, I felt like it was a little bit of an overpay, and I still think that that was a valid opinion to have at the time. But then seeing the rest of the moves come in later, like the Paul Arriolas for $2 million, or Alistair Johnston for $1 million, Crepeau for $1 million, then it felt much more normalized. To grab him at 1.2, it was like, okay, that's a good move. It seems like the asking price for intra-league moves has increased. It makes sense that they paid that much to get Morgan. And there was also the question of where they were going to play him when they signed him. Were they going to bring him in to be the Duncan replacement, or was he going to play as a second striker? Luckily, they had a brain and didn't play him at right back. So it's panning out pretty well, and definitely not looking like an overpay. But I will not apologize for having that opinion to start off with.
I am hearing a ton, and
oh my God, here you go.
Oh, it's not my fault I made a dumb comment. It's don't look at
not
me.
A dumb comment. It was a valid comment at the time.
No, it was. No, you don't get to play I didn't know. Everybody could have known that wasn't an overpay. You go out and pay 1.2 mil for a striker from an out of league team, and people are thinking it's a great signing just because
we've had this conversation a million times already. It's not the same as paying 1.2 million out of the league.
It is, because it's garbage bucks. They're not real money. It's a bigger steal than if we paid actual money to get him from another team.
You have a cap. This doesn't translate.
Stop. We paid Garber bucks that were expiring at the end of the year. We either used it or losed it. And now we got at least 3 goals out of it, probably more. So
Garber bucks currency does not translate 1-for-1 to US dollars.
I would love to know the conversion rate. I would love to know the conversion rate, because it doesn't matter what it is. It's a steal.
Let's move on. We had our argument. Let's move on.
I'm right.
Whatever you say.
Stock down. I'll go ahead and continue on with this one.
Okay.
I started with Freddie Montero from Seattle, playing against what on paper looked like a pretty subpar Real Salt Lake side. He got 1 shot on target and had 4 bad touches that led to turnovers, which was the most of any player of either team. And you know that it's tough to get going when you can't keep the ball, right? So Seattle are now scoreless in 2 games without Rui Diaz. He himself has now had 106 minutes, 0 goals. Not a great look, but for somebody who was brought in to be the Rui Diaz replacement, or the backup to Rui Diaz or whatever, he's not showing real hot right now. So I know strikers are going hot and cold, but if he's not going to heat up, Adeniran has to heat up. Will Bruin has to heat up. Somebody got to start scoring goals for this team, or Seattle are in for it. Because I don't know how long Rui Diaz is going to be out, but man, if you can't play without Rui Diaz, you might say goodbye to that playoff streak. Bold prediction.
Ooh. Yeah, I think they'll be okay. That is definitely a bold prediction, though, if you think that's the case.
I also want to put an honorable mention out there before I go to my second player of every defensive-minded player for Inter Miami, because, God, that was awful to watch. It hurt me watching that game. With a defensive-minded coach in Phil Neville. What?
Not so defensive-minded anymore.
He's not any-minded. He's just dumb. Okay, my second one is out of Columbus. Milos Degenek, center back for Columbus. After being up a man for a long time in that game, Degenek lost the mark on the game-tying goal against San Jose. He lost Calvo, let him run free, and gave him a free header in the box in the 95th minute while up a man. He didn't make a tackle all game, according to Who Scored. And even while being up a man, you could tell they struggled to just contain this San Jose attack. Last year, Columbus was very, very poor in closing out games and being mentally strong at the end of games. I thought that him coming in, especially being on a team that had just been a consistent winner, knowing how to close games out and get results to lead them to titles, would have at least helped take a step towards that issue. But clearly there's still some work that needs to be done. And I'm not saying that Columbus are in the mud, but this is clearly a massive, massive problem that they had last year, and it seems to be continuing on, leaking into this year. If they want to have a shot at finishing anywhere near your prediction, they're going to need to clean that up real quick.
They'll clean it up. Don't worry about it. They got to get some chemistry in the back line. There's a bit of turnover, but they'll clean it up. I got faith in them. They're still on 4 points out of 2 games. That's not a bad start.
All right, I'll hear what you've got then.
All right, so one of mine is kind of similar. So I ended up going along the same lines of the Inter Miami defense, except I landed on one specific player. I went with DeAndre Yedlin here. So I said if anybody watched MLS in 2014, blacked out for the next 8 years, and then watched the last game from Inter Miami, they would be absolutely shocked to see DeAndre Yedlin's performance. I don't think that he was necessarily like the problem area for Miami. That's definitely not true. It was a plethora of players who were not performing. I think the reason that I ended up landing on DeAndre Yedlin is because I figured his stock was higher than the rest of the players in the back line for Miami. So I feel like his stock would take the bigger hit based on that last performance. Because this is a guy that is, whether we like it or not, in and around the men's national team, which is, in a position where the men's national team is arguably the deepest, probably says something. And I think him going out there and giving up 5 goals to Austin, again, as I mentioned last episode, the team that scored the least amount of goals last season, it's not great. So, again, I don't think he was the worst guy in the back line. I think guys like Breck Shea were definitely worse, but I just think his stock was higher than the rest of them. So his took the larger hit.
I think we need to stop thinking about this Austin team as the Austin team from last year. And I understand that there is, lowest scoring team in the league automatically dropping 5 goals on you is not a good look. But this Austin team is not the Austin team from last year. It's not. So it's, and I get it. It's a bad look on paper, but if you watch the game, 2 completely different teams.
Yeah, I get it. It's definitely not the same Austin team from last year, but it is a majority of the same players, I would say, in terms of like the attack. I get that they've had a bit more time to gel together.
Yep.
But I still think week 2 after the season where Austin was the lowest scoring team, I still think it holds a bit of weight.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to move on to see what your other one was.
My other one is a callback to week 1. So if you haven't listened to week 1's review, listen back. Because my pick is Jacob Schaffelberg. So
that's rough. He got hurt.
Listen, I know he got hurt, and you talked about it last week where Schaffelberg had a pretty bad week 1, and we talked about how he was playing out of position. It's a little tough to give him a tough time on it. He's not really a defender. And I figured I'd give him the benefit of the doubt for week 1. Could be just, a bad week, could be opening day jitters. But week 2 against Red Bull, he was really bad again. And I get it. That's same thing I mentioned before. He's playing out of position. It's tough. I would put more so of the blame on Toronto, but at the end of the day, he's still on the field playing, and he can't do the job in that position. Toronto needs to realize this and shift away from it. But he came off at halftime, but all 4 of Red Bull's goals came while he was on the field. So he came off, and then Red Bull didn't score any more goals. So I think again, I understand he came off injured. It's tough to kick him while he's down, quote unquote. but I just think he had another bad week. His ratings were not good on SofaScore or Who Scored. They were some of the lowest ratings, if not the lowest, for Toronto in that last game. So hopefully Toronto fixes it and stops playing him as a defender. But until
yeah, I said they're kind of screwed because Criscito has gone back on his word. He said he was going to come as soon as he could, and now he's like, I'll come in July with Lorenzo. So they're going to have to go 4 months with him at left back.
That's not great. He has not looked good at left back to start the season.
That is correct. You know who has looked good as we transition into our team of the week? Every New York Red Bull player ever.
Oh, here we go.
New York Red Bull are my team of the week. Actually, you know what? Hold
on. This guy.
I didn't know which one to grab, so I got them all. Every Red Bull scarf I own because that's how good they are. I mean, what is this? 9 scarves? I need a 10th scarf. Good. It landed on the Luis one. We'll go with the Luis one. My goodness, is this team amazing. And yes, I'm going to absolutely enjoy every minute of this, knowing that we're about to go like 0-10 in some random stretch in the middle of the year. So I'm enjoying this while I can. I don't want to hear it. I get that TFC were bad. I get that San Jose were bad. But for the second time in 2 weeks, a Red Bull side beat a team, like easily beat a team, and probably should have beaten them by more. They are creating chances. They are defending well. They're beating teams that they should be beating. Last year's Red Bull team ties this TFC team. No hesitation. That last year's Red Bull team ties this team. Maybe they even lose to them, okay? But in just one offseason, they have made these massive, massive strides. They should have at least had a 5th goal. Lewis Morgan's 4th goal was onside, and I will take that to my grave. Klimala had 3 or 4 breakaways that he should have finished. I mean, this game could have been 7. I have not had this much fun watching a Red Bull team probably since 2018. It is enjoyable to watch again. The team is creating great chances. The press is working. We're putting the ball in the back of the net. I get it that they're bad teams, but great teams demolish bad teams. I said the same thing about Austin in a tweet yesterday. Yes, Cincinnati and Inter Miami are probably the bottom 2 teams in the East this year, maybe with Charlotte. Good teams beat those teams. Great teams handle them, demolish them, and give them 0 chance to live. Red Bull are playing like a great team right now. I can't wait to see them at 20th in the power rankings this week. All right. I'm done.
Okay. Good. My team of the week is Austin FC.
I'm okay with that. I mean, you're wrong, but I'm okay with it.
No, I'm not wrong. I mean, you have to be okay with it.
If Austin doesn't win that game by that many goals, is Red Bull your team of the week?
Probably.
That's all I need to hear because that's the right answer. But
what a way to start the season. 10 goals for, 1 goal against, +9, first in the Supporters Shield. It's 2 games in, I understand. But wow, what a way to start the season. I mean, talk about diagnosing your problem from last year and absolutely demolishing the problem, getting just like obliterating it. It's gone. It's never even in question. 5 goals in each game to start the season after coming off of a season where your biggest problem was scoring goals. That's how every team should be looking at their rosters and diagnosing their problems. Austin has looked, I know we kind of been talking about this all episode. They've been playing poor teams. They're playing Miami and Cincy, who before the season started, we knew were going to be bad. But they have looked really good. I genuinely think this team can compete against the better teams in this league. I'm not saying that they'll necessarily win, Obviously, they're not going to go undefeated, but I think that this is a much stronger Austin team than we saw last season, which is great. I think it's great for the league. It's great for them as an expansion side to put the pieces together so quickly. I hope they can keep up this momentum. I kind of have my doubts, but they have to be star of the week after putting up another 5-goal performance 2 weeks in a row.
I'm just waiting. This is the part where you say JK.
No, JK.
Red Bull to the moon. All right, we'll move on to worst team, and I'm going to jump in here and just say Inter Miami, making me watch 90 minutes of them watch the ball as they tried to defend, made me want to tear my hair out. They lost 5-1. They could have lost that game 2-1. They could have kept 3 of those balls out of the net very simply by moving towards the direction of the round thing. Like the round thing is moving towards the big white posts. If they just took 1 step towards it, then the goal doesn't happen. But instead they were like, ooh, pretty, as the ball goes in the back of it. I was losing my mind watching this game as a former goalkeeper, as now a current coach. Oh, God, brutal. And Austin ran them out of Texas. They watched the ball, and they also watched Austin as they ran them out of Texas. Midfield, non-existent. Back line, like, and I'm going to pick on somebody from the back line in my flop of the week, so we'll get to that. But, I mean, literally, it was just like anytime they got in behind the back line, it was like, okay, that's a goal. Give up. Gonzalo Higuain was their hardest working player.
Oh, yikes.
Like, he and his game wasn't great. A lot of fans were saying that he's got to go because his decision-making was poor. How do you blame a guy for his decision-making being poor when he's got 3 options in the attacking third? It's this team was just flat out atrocious. Austin handled them well, but it was them or Toronto, and they were just bad.
Yeah, it's pretty fair to say when you give up 5 goals. Never going to look good. My team, oddly enough, for flop of the week was Toronto FC.
Like I said, I was stuck between the two. I figured you'd go one.
Yeah. So we're just talking about 2 games this whole week, basically. We're just talking about the Austin and Red Bull games. Honestly, I feel like I should have potentially put Atlanta here after losing 3-0 to Colorado, but
I would have accepted that.
I'm going to go with Toronto here because, for one, Toronto was the home team. Never a good look to lose at home, let alone 4-1 at home. And I figured Toronto would struggle at the start of the season, especially without Insigne. But, man, I didn't expect them to look this bad. They look really bad. I know they grabbed a point week 1 against Dallas, but and I didn't catch the game against Red Bull, but from what it sounded like, what you were saying, this game could have been like 10-1.
Should have been 10-1, not could have.
Yeah.
Should have.
That's terrible. I mean, Red Bull definitely looked like a strong team this season. Probably not top of the East contenders, but to look that poorly against them.
I'm sorry. Do I need to pull up the standings real quick?
You go ahead, pull up the standings. Go ahead.
Standings.
Let me show you Austin at the top.
Wait, what did you say? They weren't top of the East contenders? Currently, I've got Red Bull at 1 and Atlanta at 7. Wow.
Hey, we're still in the playoffs. That's all that matters.
Man, that's small team mentality, man. Couldn't be my team.
Yeah, I think this is going to be. I don't know why people, including myself, didn't kind of like put it together that Toronto wasn't going to be good this season, because they were horrible last year, like really bad, like almost FCC bad. And what did they do to improve the team? They brought in guys who, for one, aren't even coming until July. And then 2, they didn't bring in enough replacements for the guys that they lost. And I mean, they lost good players like Richie Larea and Marky Delgado. This team is going to struggle. They're going to be bad. I'm going to say it now because I truly believe it. This team is going to be bad this season. And Lorenzo Insigne has got his work cut out for him when he joins in July.
This team needs so much more than Insigne, let's be real. But the issue is Bob Bradley is trying to play LAFC football with a team that finished
with FCC talent.
With FCC, yeah, that's exactly fair. He's trying to run the midfield like Atuesta did with Michael Bradley, his son. He's trying to play wingers like Carlos Vela, who is Ralph Priso. Good player, not Carlos Vela. He's trying to make Jesus Jimenez Adama Diamande. It doesn't work. When he gets his players in, you see a different TFC team. But Bob Bradley ball doesn't work with this TFC team. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to build your team when you start from scratch, which you got to do with LAFC. But now it's going to take some time to rebuild this team. Insigne is a good start, but boy, do they need to. He's not young. They need to piece it together quickly if they want to get the best out of him.
Right.
Good stuff.
Move on.
Factor Cap?
No, we're going to Star of the Week.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
Oh, which one?
I don't want to hear you talk about Lewis Morgan anymore.
I won't talk about him. I'll sing about him. He scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. Lewis Morgan. He scores when he wants. All right. Listen, if 3 goals for Carlos Vela was good enough for Star of the Week, it's good enough for Red Bull. Now, people are calling Lewis Morgan the Scottish Messi. I think that is an insult. They are actually calling Leo Messi the Argentinian Lewis Morgan over in France right now. Cristiano Ronaldo, the C celebration, gone. Whatever Lewis Morgan did on his 3rd goal, that's his new celebration in honor of the greatest player in the world. An absolute world beater of a man. Mo Salah wishes he had the talent that Lewis Morgan possesses. An absolute world beater, no overreaction whatsoever, any way, shape, or form. Lewis Morgan is the Star of the Week, the year, the millennium, the eon. You name a time period, and he is the best player to ever exist in said time period.
I dislike you so much. So much.
All jokes, all serious comments aside, Lewis Morgan's the best pure finisher that Red Bull have seen since BWP has left. I mean, it is the first time that I've saw somebody step up to a ball, think about putting it somewhere on frame, and then put it somewhere that wasn't right down the middle. You know, him and Klamala linking up really, really well. Even though Klamala basically left him for dead about 2 or 3 times on the passes that he had. And he should have had a 4th. You can go back and watch that goal back. That was an onside goal. Should have had a 4th. So the man is in super hot form right now. Did Vela score for LAFC?
Nope.
Okay, so he's joint golden boot right now. And it wasn't like he had his chances against San Jose as well. So playing him in that role, and you mentioned this earlier, right? Playing him in the advanced role instead of the wingback role was obviously a no-brain decision. He's a great pure finisher, very, very good attacking mind, and the Red Bull counter and the high press worked very well for him because of how clinical he is in and around the box, and how fast he is on the break. Right, you saw that 3rd goal that he had was just basically a dead sprint from half, and he outran I think it was Schaffelberg making the recovery run, but. You know, even just looking at that breakaway, right? The amount of times I've seen Red Bull on a breakaway like that, and they just shoot it directly down the middle of the goalkeeper. I mean, I need like 4 or 5 hands to do that, to count that up. So it's really nice from a Red Bull point of view to see somebody who can actually score when he wants. Scores when he wants. He scores when he wants. Lewis Morgan. He scores when he wants.
Well, I'll spare everybody the pain of having to go through that again and just say yes.
Yes.
Morgan is the star of the week.
Good, because that's all that mattered, really, was my opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter.
I so badly wanted to say Dreesy, just to bother you.
You would have had a little bit of a
well, not to Morgan. Morgan had listen. We picked Baylor last week because he scored a hat trick. It has to be Morgan this week.
Considering
doing
he
the
scored
same thing.
Yeah, he scored 4.
He scored 3.
He scored 4.
Show me the stats. Show me
show
the box score.
I'll let you start off flop of the week then, because you didn't get the quite star.
Mine's gonna be quick too. I went with Schaffelberg. He had another bad week.
Are you good? What are you doing?
There's a bug flying around here, so I'm trying to swat him away.
Brooklyn kids.
It's like over 70 degrees out, so now all the bugs are coming out. I went with Schaffelberg. I know he came out injured, and it's tough to keep laying in on him, but it's not a good look when your team concedes 4 in the first half. You come out at the start of the second half, and then all of a sudden the team isn't scoring more goals. So, tacking that on to the fact that it's a second straight bad week, I got to go Schaffelberg this week.
That's rough. I think that's really rough. I have an honorable mention from the Toronto game, and it's Carlos Salcedo, who was my Defender of the Year pick.
Nice.
I know. But, I mean, there's no cohesion in that back line right now. He's consistently one of the last players back, making recovery runs against 4 people. Also should have been sent off for a tackle on Patrick Lamela last Saturday. Goes completely over the ball, studs right into his shin. I'm not sure how VAR didn't throw him out, but it seemed like the VAR was giving a lot of pity on the
Toronto players
team after the 4th goal went in. I mean, Salcedo should have been sent off. Morgan's goal was onside. And I think there was one more incident too, where it was very clear that he should have, or somebody should have had a card or something. I can't remember exactly, because all I can remember is Lewis Morgan. But if I could pick all of Inter Miami, I would for this. But I'm going to go with Christopher McVey, and he was one of the center backs for Miami, for those of you who don't know. But it's all about this 3rd Austin goal that was scored that literally made me want to punch a wall. And I don't care for Inter Miami at all, but just as a pure soccer enthusiast standpoint, this was criminal. So he starts off by being a part of an Inter team trying to play out of the back, gives the ball directly to Dreesy. I mean, like, nobody within 15 yards of him, just gives it right away. Doesn't step up to challenge the ball after that. Dreesy plays the ball into Urruti, who plays it through to Dominguez. As soon as that ball breaks the line, he just stops, watches them go in on goal. Like, oh, they scored, whatever. Then Austin tries to go sweaty across the goal. It's blocked by a recovering, I want to say it was DeAndre Yedlin. Ball pops back up in the air. He stands there as he watches the ball go in the air and then looks down as Dreesy runs directly past him to score the goal. If your center back is doing any of those things, any one of those things, I'm angry as a coach. Doing all 3 or 4 of them in one play made my blood boil. He was bad all day. He really didn't do much all day. But that play in particular made me so furious.
Yeah, I could tell. You're very upset, and they're not even your team.
They're not my team, but like, just you cannot be a pro soccer player and give that level of effort. I would cut him on the spot.
He fits right in at Inter Miami.
Do I fit in?
No, not you. I'm saying McVay fits in.
I know, but I'm trying to.
Oh, you're swatting? Yeah, I can't get this stupid bug.
All right, you want to go to Factor Cap?
Yeah, let's do. I got 2 teams in mind for Factor Cap.
And make it a statement. Instead of just saying like the team, give me a proper statement.
Okay. Factor cap. Austin FC is a top 4 Western Conference finishing team this season.
Cap. I'm gonna say cap. I think they're in a hot start against some bad teams. They'll be put back in their place by teams at full health. I still rate LAFC over them. Who's the other team that I'm liking a lot? Nashville. I put Nashville over them. You know, the more I think about it, maybe it's cap. Maybe it's fact. Top 4, you said?
Yeah, top 4.
I reckon Seattle comes back and is at full health better than them. So SKC, Seattle, Nashville, and LAFC are the 4. I'll give them 5, but I'm going to say cap. What about you?
Yeah, agreed. I think it has to be cap at the moment. I think definitely if Austin continues to play the way that they are for a longer period of time, now the conversation gets a lot tougher, and I think you'd have to start trending more towards fact. But I think the way that they finished last year, combined with the quality of opponent that they've played so far, it's tough to say fact. I need some more sample size and some more statement wins in order to feel more confident in saying fact. But definitely, I think Austin is looking like they're going to finish above where I had them in the standings predictions. So,
yep,
good on them.
For sure.
All right, second one. Seattle Sounders outside of the top 4, factor cap.
Well, I just said they were going to be top 4, so that's a cap.
All right, let me. We'll come up with another one then.
I've got a good one.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I don't have an answer yet. Let me change it again. There will be a team that FC Cincinnati will not be the team to concede the most amount of goals this year.
Cap. I think they absolutely will be the most conceding team. That backline is horrible. They're terrible. Last week, I think they got away with it because they played DC, who I think is a pretty poor team, to be honest with you. Even though DC's sitting on 6 points right now, which is a miracle. But they played probably the 2 weakest teams in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, I fully expect that FCC will concede the most goals, even more than San Jose, who I think will give them a good run for their money. But I think FCC pulls out.
I'm gonna say fact, man. I don't think so. I think FCC have to get better at some point.
But no, they don't. We've been saying that for 3 seasons.
Inter Miami were terrible. San Jose were bad. But I think either San Jose or Inter Miami are going to take that from them this year. And that is my factor cap prediction.
Fair enough.
That it?
Yeah, I think we hit a good amount of time.
All right. Let me go question of the week, and we can cut it out if we need to.
Okay.
MLS, as of last week, kicking off, has given out 8 red cards in 2 weeks. Do we think referees are being too cautious with the red card rule? Do we think that they are giving out too many red cards? And I feel like we've had this conversation already. But I feel like this is 4 a week. You're going 34 weeks. You're looking over 100 red cards this year at this pace. Do we think we're giving out too many?
So my question to your question would be, how many of these are double yellows versus just straight reds? Because and you could see if you could pull that number.
I can.
I'd imagine a lot of them are double yellows. And from what I was hearing from multiple broadcasts, listening to a few of the games, is that MLS really was strict with the referees this year in saying that if you are complaining too much or crowding the referee, you're going to get booked much easier than you were in the past. So I think referees are starting to book players who are complaining more often or getting in the face of the referee or really anything like along those similar regards. And those are dumb yellow cards to pick up. But then later on in the game, when you go make a bad tackle on a ball, now all of a sudden you're off. So I think that there's probably going to be more red cards than there have been in the past, because it seems like referees are a bit more like trigger happy on pulling yellows. But I don't think the number of straight reds will change too much.
3 of the 8 so far have been straight reds. 5 have been double yellows. Now, either way, right? Are we too quick then to pull a yellow, right? And I get the whole pro trying to be all don't crowd the referee and stuff, but you think we're being too lenient?
I think they're being probably a little bit too tough on the yellow cards. I think obviously if someone deserves to be sent off, they should be sent off. But something like week 1 when Jake Nerwinski was sent off for like 2 kind of soft yellows. I don't know if they were really related to what we were just talking about with the complaining. I don't think it was. Pretty sure it was on tackles, but it for the most part, 95% of the time, it kills a game when a player is sent off. Obviously, you have the exceptions like San Jose, but I just think games would be a lot more entertaining if they weren't so, I don't want to say anxious, but like almost like giddy to just hand out yellows, like a little too quick to pull them out, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to with the red card, yellow card situation. I believe, if I remember correctly, when I was watching the Inter Miami game, they had hit 60 yellow cards for the season. That's 30 yellow cards a week.
A lot.
Yeah, hold on. I've got the number here. Yeah, Chris Penso's already thrown out 13 yellows this season. 125 yellows this season. So that's, you're looking at 60 a week.
Just look at LAFC's last game against Portland. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yellow cards that game.
We've done 125 yellows, 8 reds, 4.46 yellows a game. Now, I'm going to do something crazy here and let's go to the Premier League for a second.
Oh, we don't talk about that here.
I know. Premier League is showing an average of 3.52. Ligue 1 3.57. And we'll pick Serie A for fun. Serie A, 4.54. So we are on pace with right now Serie A. What's La Liga say? La Liga is 4.94.
Wow, that's pretty high.
So again, we may not be the most, but it feels a lot more frequent, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, here's another good comparison. 2021, 3.75 for MLS.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
It's almost an extra yellow card a game.
Yeah, which adds up, don't it?
Yeah, I would say later in the season, there's going to be a lot of yellow card accumulation
Right.
suspensions.
And that's massive in a playoff push, isn't it?
It could be. Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, I was wondering what you were thinking about that. It feels like a lot, but that's just my thought. But that's my question of the week. What do you guys think? Do you think we are a little bit too quick to pull the yellow? You think we don't have enough to just listen and have a word with people? Do we not give enough? Should more people get booked? Let us know. But the only way you can let us know is if you're following us on all forms of social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Make sure you search Designated Players Podcast so you can find us. Also, check out wherever you get your pods. Make sure you subscribe to us, rate us, let us know what you think, and so that you know when we go live. Anything else you got to add? Either. So that was season 3, episode 12. We are closing dangerously close to episode 100 here. We got to do something big for episode 100.
We'll have to plan it.
We will. We'll have to sit down and talk about it. This will be episode 87. So episode 100 will be season in 12 episodes away. But yeah, make sure you're following us wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on all forms of social media. Let us know what you think about some of our thoughts. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players Podcast. See ya.